just tromping through the Heisei series of Godzilla films, and one I got for you today has one with a little bit of heart, and Godzilla is kind of, being a little more parental in this one. Yes, we're talking about Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. A new director again on board here in Kensho Yamashita, giving us the story of the UN Godzilla Countermeasures Center is doing an experiment once again to this time control Godzilla through the use of ESP. Enter our favorite character Miki Sayagusa, who they ask reluctantly to, well, she is reluctant to join this experiment to connect up with Godzilla and try to control him. She's had this connection for quite some time, doesn't like the experiments, and saying, why don't we just leave him and baby Godzilla alone on Birth Island? Well, no, they've got other plans. So she reluctantly goes to do the experiment, and they meet up with the Major Yuki, who has a personal vendetta against Godzilla thanks to some destruction and the death of one of his close friends from one of the previous films. Actually, he's got a connection to that. So he's secretly, while keeping an eye on baby Godzilla, and Godzilla's looking to kill Godzilla, and he thinks he's got away, right? But while on the island, Miki receives a message from a fairy Mothra. The Cosmos tell her that a big, nasty monster is on the way to destroy Godzilla and his homeworld. He's just got this vendetta because Space Godzilla has been formed by pieces of Godzilla's cell that have been carried into space by Biollante and Mothra. And so those are coming back to haunt us as Space Godzilla comes to destroy not only Godzilla but the world. And so they decide to get the UN Godzilla Countermeasures Center, their new robot, Mogira, to go fight Space Godzilla. That doesn't go so well, but soon we find Godzilla and Space Godzilla locked in battle, and with a little help from Mogira, Godzilla may just pull this one out, or he could die, leaving baby Godzilla an orphan. This is an interesting one in that everything is pretty much Godzilla driven in this one. They do give you the human story in here of experimenting with Godzilla, but everything is just directly related to him in this one versus us having a couple of storylines that mesh together. This one is all about the big G and him fighting Space Godzilla. They've kind of turned his character around a bit by making him the dad of baby Godzilla. It does make him less of a villain, and in this one, Space Godzilla really is the big baddie in this, and Godzilla isn't, though Godzilla isn't really fighting for humanity. He's just fighting for his son, who was picked on quite a bit by Space Godzilla early in the film. So I kind of like that. So he's not exactly the bad guy in this one, but he's not exactly a good guy either. He just, he's like, this guy's on my turf and I want to destroy him. Now, Megumi Odaka is back again as Miki Sayagusa. Love this character so much. Love her performance in this one as well. And her connection with the Godzilla. I love that storyline, how she doesn't want anything bad to happen to baby Godzilla, because he's just a victim of circumstance for the most part, and he's not aware of how bad his dad is. And so there's really an interesting storyline in there with her and how they developed her in this film especially. And now we get a new robot in here. They didn't bring back Mechagodzilla due to budgetary reasons, so they bring back a different robot who looks very familiar. Mogira is actually from the Mysterians. They brought him over, retooled him a bit for this film, and it was great to see this robot in action. And they give it a little bit of justification because they actually give him an acronym in here for the name, and he splits into two parts now. They get their robot that splits into two parts. They wanted to do that for Mechagodzilla, didn't do it there, do it here now, where we get the flying part and the drill section, the land vehicle. So I liked that element too, and the fact that you've got Mogira fighting side by side with Godzilla, which I think would have been a little awkward had they had Mechagodzilla side by side with Godzilla. Here it makes at least a little bit more sense because Godzilla wouldn't recognize him as an enemy and try to crunch him like a aluminum can. Now, as far as Space Godzilla goes, love the design. Big crystals on his back. Crystals that he uses as his lair in a city that helps destroy a good chunk of the city. How he gets his energy. All of that design with Space Godzilla was really fascinating. And I really enjoyed that angle and the design and what they came up with for him. So yeah, some really interesting things going on. The battle, especially the final battle with Space Godzilla and Megura all involved, got a lot of components going on, and very exciting to watch visually, especially, and the events leading up to there are pretty basic. Again, we're playing a little more with the revenge angle of Major Yuki. He is played by Akira Imoto, and he actually gets a really great scene with Akira Nakao, who once again is playing the commander Takaki Aso. And I love this scene between these two veterans who are asking the commander's asking his soldier to put his personal feelings aside to help try to carry out this mission of first taking out Space Godzilla before you try to kill Godzilla. So there's an interesting depth there with those characters. And once again, we get our social commentary in here, only we're not talking about polluting our Earth anymore. No, we're also talking about how badly we could pollute space and end up causing another Space Godzilla for ourselves to come down. So there's still that social commentary in there. Felt a little tacked on at the end, but nonetheless, it was great to see that still carried out, along with fitting in with the Godzilla theme of taking care of our Earth, and looks what happens when we mistreat it, which isn't far off from what we're kind of getting today in our real world. And so, you get all those elements in here. It was meant to be the 40th anniversary of Godzilla. That's when it came out in 1994. But it didn't quite feel like a 40th anniversary type episode, It just felt like your basic Godzilla episode. Didn't feel like there was much special to it. It's not quite as strong as the previous two Heisei films, I will say that, but I still think it is worth seeing, especially for what they do with the Miki Sayagusa character, if for nothing else. So there you have it, folks. Please let me know what you think of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Do you think it's a weaker entry into the franchise, or is it one of the weaker films of the Heisei series? Love to hear your thoughts on it. Please check out our Patreon if you haven't already. I appreciate your support, and we've only got one more film to go in the Versus series, and that's coming up tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub